Now, farm succession is becoming one of the biggest challenges facing the Irish sector. New figures from the latest IFAC Irish Farm Report show that 2 in 5 farmers don't have a formal successor or plans in place, with an ageing farming population and concerns around viability and lifestyle putting real pressure on family farms. To unpack what this means in practice, we're joined by Avril Collentine, solicitor and farming specialist, a Westmeath woman who's married in to farming life in Clare. So, Avril, you're very welcome into studio today. You're also very welcome to Clare as well. So I'll extend that welcome on behalf of the county. And
I'm here a while now, but I'll take it. Thanks very much.
And Andrew Naughton as well, who is a suckler farmer from West Clare, and he's a member of Clare Macra as well. So you're both very welcome to the programme. Avril, I'll come to you in just a moment, but I suppose, Andrew, to start things off, you're a suckler farmer. You're hearing today that 2 in 5 farmers don't have a formal successor or succession plan. How worrying is that for you as a young farmer?
As a young farmer, thanks very much for having me on the show, first of all. And as a young farmer, succession is the key of keeping rural Ireland open, like succession in farming. And it's alarming to see that only 2 in 5. I remember my first time when I joined Macra, the stat was 1 in 15 of your local GA team was a farmer under 35. That's now gone to 1 in 20. So it's not something that we're seeing anything coming around, and we're not seeing any support from the government on it. I know Macra and the IFA and all the farming organisations are crying out to the Minister for a bit of support in this. It's alarming to see that there's no real progress being made in 3-4 years now of even me being involved.
And when you talk about any sector, the one thing that you need is a reasonably youthful workforce to ensure continuation. In Clare at the moment, the average age of a farmer is 61. And does this reflect what you're seeing on the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you go into the mart in Innis or in Kilrush of a Wednesday or even the Bridge of a Saturday, and you're not seeing many people. I'm not seeing many people my own age. Yeah, there's 5, there's 6 of us, but there could be 40 other lads there that would all be over the classified age of 35 as a young farmer. Like there's a lot of that older generation in farming, and they don't have a successor. But there's young lads at home that are working part time, and they don't see a viable future in farming due to the legislation. And even if you look at this Merce Secure deal that's coming in, that's a real kind of turn off for young people to get into farming.
And at this point, I'll turn to Avril Collentine from Cahir & Co solicitors here in Ennis. Avril.
Yeah, my thoughts, I suppose, and it's something I can speak to as a solicitor, really, and having worked in the area, and since I've moved to Clare here since 2016, and we do deal with a lot of farm transfers and property transactions and probate in our office. So we do see, the profile of the farmer is always older when he comes to make the decision. And we are often, when we talk about succession, it's about planning for the future of how you're going to transfer your farm. And even in this article that was published yesterday, you'll see that 2 in 5 don't have a will in place, and that's something as well that's a real concern. So that's always the first protocol we would say to farmers is get talking to your solicitor, your advisors, and talk about making a will. It can often be the first step. There's a real host of reasons here why succession is delayed, and I agree with Andrew. Yeah, maybe there does need to be some incentives in the industry and by the government to do it, but traditionally people don't stay around rural Ireland as much now. You're living in a very developed economy, and they're competing, they see the bigger salaries in the city, and a lot of people have gone to third level education, so you're asking people to compare an off-farm income or to what they could make at home. It's a lifestyle choice. People go to Australia, they travel more now, and parents are ageing. They don't want to be asking their children to come home either. So there's a myriad of factors, I would say. And again, an ageing farmer often procrastinates for a long time and takes his time making the decisions. And there's fear mongering as well about relationships. The old adage of he went up the aisle and he came back down with half a farm. He went up with a full farm and he came back with half farm. So people are afraid of divorce and things like that. There's a whole host of factors here that we can unpack in this. But yes, farmers should be encouraged, and I think the government have started to do that to get the succession underway. And there's the succession planning and advice grant now has been introduced a couple of years ago for over 60s, and I think that's a really important thing, and I'm starting to see the trickle of that.
Yeah, and just on that, Avril, you mentioned there the low numbers of people that actually have a will. in place as well. And when you think about it, and look, you'd hope for the best, but it's the nature of a will at the end of the day. If there is to be a sudden incident and you don't have a succession plan in place, you don't have a will, you don't have somebody readily available to take on the farm, what happens?
Yeah, so that's the real concern, I suppose, for farm families, and it's something that it's really the starting point. There should be open dialogue here, and I think communication is the key to everything here. If there's an open conversation about the farm, and is there anybody willing to take it over, interested in taking it over? So the families need to facilitate that. And if it's a young farmer listening today and you've done your green cert and you're conscious of the 35 deadline, you need to have these open conversations with your parents. But yeah, farmers and all people listening today, all listeners should encourage to make a will. If you don't make a will, the rules of intestacy apply, Daragh. So that means, it depends whether you have spouses or children, and everybody is open. And further out, if you're somebody who's no successor, it goes between your further out relations and relatives, and that may not be what you want. So the starting point is put something in place if you have particular wishes about what's to happen to your assets. If not, it goes by the rules of intestacy, which are 1965 legislation.
And again, something which isn't unique to Clare, isn't unique to Ireland, is that there is always a high prevalence of bachelor farmers who might not necessarily have a son, have a daughter, or apologies, well, obviously not a son or a daughter, but a niece or a nephew or a cousin, or somebody that they can give the farm away to. So they seem to be really left in limbo. Yeah,
and I think, you feel for them, and it can be farming, as we all know, and I think Andrew will probably agree with me, it can be very isolating. So if there are those farmers out there who may feel and listen today and say, I have nobody, or I have a grandniece in Kerry and she's no interest. But there is, again, I was involved last year in Teagasc with the Family Farm Clinic, and at that day, they're really worthwhile workshop days if anyone gets a chance to go, because you'll meet loads of different people and stakeholders. And there was land mobility services were there, and I hadn't come across that before, and their job is to pair landowners with people who may be interested in taking on a farm. So there is options out there, collaborative farming practices and stuff, that if you are somebody who has nobody in your family, you should be exploring those and talking to your Teagasc farm advisor and different people to see what other potential avenues are open to you. You may not want to farm forever. You may want to step back, but you just can't see how that would work. But I think it's really worthwhile reaching out to some of those organisations to see is there a potential successor or somebody interested in taking over your farm.
And to bring Andrew back in for a moment, Andrew, barriers to succession we're seeing identified here in several articles are that more and more young people want to go to third level, are going to third level, and not just embark on careers of their own choosing, but there's also a desire to travel as well. And whether you want to put down roots in the likes of Australia or the US, maybe you just want to see the world. Are these things now that you're actively thinking, even yourself, will I be able to do this or not?
Yeah. Like I'll be honest. In my own situation, home farming now about 12 to 18 months, and would have liked to have gone to Australia maybe, but I'm not saying I would have moved to Australia. Definitely a holiday do me like. But yeah, you're seeing a lot of my own generation going to Australia, doing the 2 years, coming home then, and maybe returning back to the office job, or maybe coming home full-time farming. And the amount of people who are going to third level education now, getting their level 8 degree in agriculture, and then getting either employed in Teagasc or IFAC, or going down them lines, working with private advisories, even sale reps, that kind of stuff. There's a wide range of agricultural jobs out there now. If you are if you're coming up to the CAO deadline as well soon enough, so there's a lot of agricultural courses there. If you're kind of half interested in taking over the farm, maybe go and do something that you can sustain the farm and have a job off farm. But the draw for going away will always be there. You look at all the generations down the past, how many of them left and how many of them came back, and that's been the real driving factor. If you grew up on a family farm farming, you have that draw to the land to come home and farm it like.
Yeah, and I think everybody can relate to as well the pride that farmers put into their family farms, whether it's the machinery that's on it, the tractors, the livestock, just even just having it looking well and performing well. There's just such a deep level of pride to it. But coming with that, you have the offsets, and we hear about it time and time again, the lengthy hours that you have to put in, the fatigue of it. You might miss out on social occasions, you might miss out on sporting events. One of your first points today, Andrew, was you felt that the government weren't doing enough to make it a viable future for young people, or to incentivise young people going into farming. Is there anything, even I suppose from a Clare Macra point of view, you feel needs to change?
Well, if you just take Macra in general, and as the other speaker said, that the Land Mobility Service, Macra had set that up originally in conjunction with other parties, and that's to get other people from a non-farming background. You take out your phone now, and there's so many agricultural influencers up and down the country that are making farming fun, making farming enjoyable for people to watch and stuff, and then it gets the interest going. What could be done from the government and that kind of stuff is like that, a better grant or a retirement scheme. Like it was mentioned to the former Minister, Charlie McConalogue, in 2022 about a retirement scheme, and it's been mentioned to Minister Martin Hayden on many occasions from, I'd say, every Macra person he meets is harping on about generation renewal, but we don't seem to be getting it, and we keep fighting it. Like we keep fighting with them to get something in for an older farmer to kind of step back partially, still have control, but have the younger fella or the younger girl at home, have that young person at home farming.
And Avril, you're seeing this, I'd imagine, almost.
Yeah, I think that's something that would have been years ago, Andrew. They would have had a retirement scheme for people. It was linked to getting their pension at the time, and I think, anecdotally from my grandfather, that they had to sign up that time and transfer the farm by a certain age. We don't have that for farmers now. There's no mandatory retirement age. Many of them like to live and farm on. It's a lifestyle, as you said. It's a vocation. They'll go until they're in their 80s. We see that in our community, or as long as they can, and it's been their lifeblood, and they're very slow to give that up. But I do think there could be something to incentivise the younger farmers to come in at an earlier age and to pursue their agri qualifications. Like we have stamp duty exemption, they have to get the farm before they're 35. Maybe that's too soon for the farmer. Maybe they feel that the younger farmer is still too young at 35. So maybe there could be something on that. But I do think the succession plan and advice grant for anyone who is in their 60s and considering even making a will, use that grant. Come talk to your solicitor, your accountant, your farm advisor, and get your vouched expenses together, and you will get some contribution towards that back from the Department of Agriculture to help you start the conversation. You may not know where to start, but it's always good to reach out and talk to your solicitor and your farm advisor about potential, if there is a potential successor. Is it a farm partnership? Is it something you want to do a long-term lease? Or if you're thinking of transferring to a son, daughter, niece or nephew, look at that and see when's going to be the most beneficial time to do it. There is tax, reliefs available, but it's all about planning and doing it in the most tax advantageous way for you and your successor.
And Avril, from what you see on a daily basis in your own job, when people are coming in trying to make their succession plans, but even in your own life on your farm in Clare, what do you feel maybe, is there something the government are missing that could make this a much simpler process that could make farming that bit more attractive?
I don't think there's one
catch-all.
I don't think it's there's every farm family have a different dynamic, and I think there's different situations, so there's no one size will fit all here. But I think everybody should be encouraged to make a will, and I think that's the benefit of the succession plan and advice grant. And I think after that then, you need to maybe perhaps, when you're a young trained farmer and you're doing your qualification, you have to do a business plan. Well, maybe, farmers should be encouraged to do an exit plan or an exit strategy with their Teagasc advisor each year, link that to their entitlements or something, that, how they see their retirement coming. And another statistic that came out in that report yesterday is that, the lack of private pensions amongst farmers. So I think only 1 in 4 had a private pension. So maybe that's something else. It's all, it all feeds into each other. The wills, the pensions, security, control. So that needs to be explored. So again, maybe each year that they should meet mandatory, get advice on that, and be encouraged to set these things up at an earlier age rather than leaving it until you're in a crisis mode and you're not well, or you're facing the nursing home scheme and you've been asked. That's another consideration here, is for people, if they're going into a fair deal scheme, then they have to appoint a successor. So sometimes things are only dealt with in a crisis mode and they've procrastinated over it for a number of years. So I think we should, earlier planning is the key here, whatever way the government look at it. Forward planning the key, of course, but I know, and I can already hear just the comments from the farmers and the feelings from farmers, and we hear time and time again that they just don't have the time because just the nature of the profession, it is that busy. Andrew, I'm sure that's something that you've encountered yourself. Yeah, like it's that busy, and taking that time off the farm, you're at risk of something happening at home. Like, you do need to take your time away and get your holidays and stuff, but on Avril's point there about getting a will set up, yeah, it's very important, but it's the private pension, it's the money involved in paying into these schemes and not seeing the return straight away. Like if there's money made in the farm,
it usually stays in the farm, like, or it goes into the household to look after the house and the kids and everything else like that. It's that kind of buying stuff, but yeah, you're seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for on this segment, but very, very important advice there from Avril Collentine, solicitor from Cahir and Co-Solicitors. And Avril will certainly point you in the right direction for your farm succession plan. And hopefully, Avril, we can get those numbers up.
Thanks, Sarah.
Not at all. And Andrew Naughton, suckler farmer from West Clare, member of Clare Macra. Thank you both very much for joining us on Morning Focus today.
Thanks, Sarah, and thank you, Avril, as well.
Take care. Thank you, Andrew.
Take care. Bye-bye.